for week 4's ELA W pre-lesson deliverable. Our week breaks down to Monday as independent reading. Tuesday and Wednesday we'll be working on why questions and introducing the concept of ADE writing, which is big. It's going to stick with them for years. And then finally, Friday. Thursday is reading from Wonder, and then Friday we're going to get into Megan Meyer. Another big week, such a big week for ELA W. So we'll start with Tuesday's why question and ADE breakdown. So at this point where I'm picking up, we will have gone through the do now. Miss Pappas is leading the do now. We're trying to share the voice a little bit more in the room, and so that's something that concession that's been made for in that interest, to that pursuit. Let's have someone read today's aim, and we have a student read. We will be able to dissect and answer why questions. So we talked about how to answer what questions last week. What questions, remember we want to, how do we annotate the question? What do we do? Hopefully someone says first we box the question word. That question word is what, why, how, when, who, where, although we're not going to get very many who questions. And then finally, you want to circle the key information that we're going to use when we try to turn around that question and answer it. So, last week we talked about what questions. Anybody remember in a what question, if we're restating key information, what is the bridge word that we'll be using most commonly when answering what questions? I imagine that there's some trouble with this. I'm speaking parenthetically right now. I imagine there's going to be a little bit of trouble with this because our questions last week, our what questions, they weren't easily flippable in terms of like inserting the word is. For instance, I tried to instruct them that if they see a question like, what is the conflict in wonder? It's very simple. We flip the question around and we say the conflict in wonder is. If you're answering a what question, often you're going to use the word is. That is going to be a best practice for them. However, I don't think that we had any questions that actually worked for that last week. So where we could use the word is, we never got to use that. So they were like how questions, masked as what questions. But so anyway, I will, so close parentheses, this week we're going to look at why questions, and instead of the word is as a bridge word, we're going to use because or in order to. So why does Augie go to school? Augie goes to school because his parents asked him to. Why does Julian pick on Augie? Julian picks on Augie in order to get attention. That's how we're going to answer our why question. So let's look at number 1. Why is Elliot's yearbook important to the story? Before we even read the story, we're going to answer most of this question. That seems crazy, but it's going to be simple. So if we wanted to begin answering the question without knowing what happens in the story, what could we use out of this already? At this point, we've already annotated the question. Elliot's yearbook, important to the story. So how do we say that in a sentence? Elliot's yearbook is important to the story. And then what's our bridge word? Because. What's our bridge word? Because. Altogether, what's our bridge word? And hopefully we get a core response of because. We could also use in order to if we'd like to, but it's very simple. This is how we're going to answer why questions. We're going to do this all throughout the year. You're going to do this all throughout your career at TEB, in fact. So let's look at draft 1. Ellie's yearbook is important to the story because it introduces the main problem in the story. That's good. Better is draft 2. Ellie's yearbook is important to the story because it introduces the main conflict that Ellie is being bullied. Good. And after we read the story, we're going to try to make that even better. But you see how we flip the question and insert the bridge word of because or the bridge words of in order to. So then we read the story, we come back to that, and we do it. Number 2, why is it important to the story that Elliot washes herself until her skin becomes red? What can we write before we even know what our answer is going to be? We can flip the question and say, it is important to the story that Ellie washes herself until her skin becomes red because. Now that's a lot of words. That's a fine way to structure your answer. But if you're feeling like, if that feels like it's cumbersome because it's too many words, you can look to try to eliminate some words and maybe you end up with something like, Elliot washes herself until her skin becomes red because. So you can throw out those first couple of words that we wrote. Now we'll go through our drafts with that, and then eventually we get to the ADE paragraph. Now, this is a very crucial point of instruction where we need to know what the A, the D, and the E stand for. So we're going to actually take notes. This is like a college class all of a sudden because we're going to take notes freehand. I want everyone on page 2. Notice all of the blank space on page 2. That space is about to become occupied with words that you write. So let's write. I'm going to model on the board a big A, a big D, and a big E. Now, right beside the A, there's a hyphen or a dash, and we write the word answer. This is going to be your answer statement. Every time we see ADE, that means that we're writing at least 3 sentences, although probably 5. And the first sentence will always be your answer statement. What's the first sentence going to be? The answer statement. Now, by D, we're going to write detail. A detail is something that we take from the story. A detail proves that our answer is correct, and a detail is something that we're going to spend a lot of time trying to mine for, trying to highlight inside the story. So it's going to be something that we copy. Copy is a fine word. Copy from the story that proves our answer correct. More on that to come. And then finally by the E, we're going to write explanation. This is by far the most challenging element of the ADE scheme, and it is in many ways the most important, because with your explanation statement you combine your answer and your detail to explain why you chose what you chose. All of this is going to make much more sense. This is going to be a repetition that we practice frequently, and this is going to be our first opportunity.